Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, day 3. Inshallah, in this video, we're going to continue what we started in plants life cycle. And in this session, we're going to talk about flowering and non-flowering plants. Of course, you will be so confused when I say non-flowering plants, but we will see. But before talking about anything, let's start with the dua. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا فأنت تجعل الصعب إذا شئت سهلا يا رب العالمين. اللهم إني أسألك فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين. اللهم إني أسألك قلبا خاشعا ولسانا ذاكرا شاكرا إنك على كل شيء قدير. If you open page 194 in your student book, you will find a very nice entertaining story about Lewis and Hillary that are surrounded by plants. What are they doing in the field? They are comparing between different plants. Comparing means find the differences and similarities between different plants. This field has many wild flowers growing in it. Lewis and Hillary pick flowers from around the field to take to the teacher. Hillary and Lewis notice an apple tree covered in flowers and flat leaves. Next to it, they notice a pine tree that has a needle-shaped leaves and cones without any flowers. Then they notice how different the pine tree and apple tree are. So as they were comparing them, they found so many differences between them. Lewis and Hillary look closely at the apple tree, then they look closely to the pine tree. They ask themselves, why doesn't it have any flowers? From where can we get its seeds? Or where can we find seeds if it doesn't have flower? And if it doesn't have flower, that means it will not make fruit because fruit came from a flower. Now let's compare between the pine tree and the apple tree. Here the pine tree has a needle-shaped leaves, no flowers, no fruit, while in the apple tree there is fruit and flower and flat-shaped leaves. In page 195, you can find questions on pine trees and apple trees. Question number 8 is, how are the apple tree and the pine tree are different? Describe the differences you see. Pine trees don't have flowers, no flower on the pine tree, but the apple trees do. The leaves of the two types of trees are different. Question number 9. Read the description and draw a line from the description to the picture to show whether the word describe only apple tree, only pine trees, or both. Has flat leaves. It's the apple tree. Excellent. Grow fruit. Remember, the one that will grow fruit is the one that has a flower. So apple tree grow fruit, which is the apple. Grow into an adult tree. Both of them will grow into an adult tree. Has a needle-shaped leaf. Pine tree. Doesn't grow fruit. Which one doesn't grow fruit? Pine tree, as it doesn't have flower. Doesn't flower. Pine tree. Has flower. Apple tree. Excellent. Think. Do all plants have flower? From the comparison we read that Lewis and Hillary do in the field or in the garden. Do all plants have flowers? Of course not. Some plants has other things that we call it cone. Can you see this cone? This cone on the pine tree. It's neither a flower nor a fruit. It's something that's called cone. Some plants have cones to make their seeds. Inside these cones, we can find the seed. And you can find this video on the presentation to see how the cone opened and seeds came out of it. So the non-flowering plants produce cones, while the flowering plant give flowers and fruits. This is a pine tree with cones, non-flowering tree with cones. We can find the cone, we can find the seeds of the non-flowering tree inside the cones. Cones protect the seed until they are ready to germinate. Then the cones open and the seeds come out. Can you see? This is a closed cone. The seeds are inside it, but they are not ready to germinate, to give new plants. Once it became ready to give new plants, the cone opened and seeds came out of it. Which part will turn to fruit in the flowering plant? Which part? You know it. Excellent. It's a flower. Oh, top. Will the cone turn to fruit? Will the cone turn to fruit? Of course not. The cone will not turn to fruit, just a flower. So, seeds of the pine tree are found inside the cones, exactly, while seeds of the tomato tree, which is a flowering tree that gives fruit and flower, are formed inside its fruit. Oh, think about that. Have you ever seen a tree that have both cones and flowers? Do you think a plant may have both cones and flowers? I think no, but you can Google it if you want to find out. Google it and find the answers and tell us to us at school, inshallah. In page 196, you can find flowers and cones lower. Here, he's given us different examples of different plants. Some of them are flowering, others are non-flowering, like redwood. The first picture is about the tomato plant, and it's very obvious that the tomato plant is a flowering plant that gives fruit and flower. Cactus, also cactus, make this yellow flower, so it's a flowering plant. Redwood tree don't flower, non-flowering, they give cones. And the pine tree. Maple trees are flowering plants. The seeds are wing-shaped. When they fall from the tree, the seeds spin and sail in the air. Coconut palm are flowering plants that makes coconut. The coconut bounce when they fall off the palm and can float in water. Cedar tree produce cones. Cedar tree is not flowering. Like redwood and like pine tree, they rely on the wind to transport their pollen. On page 197, question number 10. What are the two different ways, what are the two different types of seed pictured here? Get to new place. The two ways different types of seed move to new place. This coconut palm move from one place to another through water, and this cedar tree produce cones like redwood. They rely on wind to move its pollen. So as coconut, water, and as cedar tree, its pollen or seed move through the wind. Explain the differences between flowering and non-flowering plants. Flowering plants produce or give produce flowers and fruits, while non-flowering produce cones. This is the main difference between the flowering and the non-flowering plants. Question 12 is asking us about giving examples on on another flowering and non-flowering trees. I'm sorry, I'm gonna clear what I wrote because it's hiding the question. What other plants can you think of? Are they flowering or not flowering? For example, I can think about the strawberry, and I think it's flowering as it gives fruit, which is a strawberry. And what else? Maybe the pine tree that's non-flowering, it gives cones. That's it. Let's move to page 198. And in page 198, we are going to order the life cycle stages of the non-flowering pine tree. If we start with the seed, what will happen next? Seed will germinate. Excellent. After germination, it give us young or adult plant, young tree or adult tree. Of course, young and then adult. And then these adults produce cones, so it can reproduce by forming seeds inside the cones, and eventually it will die. If we're going to order those stages in life cycle, in a cycle or in a circle, and we started, it's in page 199, and we started with the seed, then this seed will germinate, and after germination it will form seedling or young plant or seedling, and then adult, and then reproduction or spreading of seeds out of the cone, and eventually it will die. Compare and contrast. How is reproduction the same for both plants with flower and plants with cones? And how is it different? Both flowering and non-flowering plants produce seeds. Both of them reproduce through their seeds, but the non-flowering plant produce seeds through the cone or from the cone, while the flowering produces from its flower or fruits. Here you're having this paper, you can cut it and paste it in order to make the life cycle of the non-flowering plant. Now it's time to compete. We are going to have some questions to answer it together. Here we have characters and we have to write the type of the tree. If it's pine tree, if it's apple tree, if both of them have this description or this character. Let's start with one. Has flat leaves. Which one has flat leaves? Apple or pine tree? Apple tree. Excellent. Let's just try the first letter. Oh, apple. Grow fruit. Which one grow fruit? Apple, as it must have a flower to give fruit, and the flowering plant is apple, not pine. Pine is not flowering. Grow into an adult tree. Which one grow into an adult tree? Of course, both. Has a needle-shaped leaf. Needle-shaped leaf. Pine tree. Doesn't grow fruit. It doesn't give fruit. Pine tree, as it gives cones. It's non-flowering. Doesn't give fruit. Does not flower. Pine does not flower. Has flower. Apple has flower. The flowering apple tree. Let's check. Excellent. The one that has a flat leaf is the apple. Grow fruit apple. Grow to adult both. Has a needle-shaped pine. Doesn't grow fruit pine. Doesn't flower pine. Has flower the apple tree. Another question, multiple choices. How is reproduction the same for both flowering and non-flowering? A. Only flowering plants produce seeds during reproduction. B. Only non-flowering plants produce seed during reproduction. C. Both produce fruit during reproduction. D. Both produce seed during reproduction. Excellent, well done. It's D. Both of them produce seed during the reproduction. The flowering produces through its flower, while the non-flowering produces through its seed. How is reproduction different from plants with flower and plants with cones? A. A flowering plant produces flower and fruit, while non-flowering produce cones. B. Flowering plants produce cones, while the non-flowering produce flower and fruit. C. There is no differences between flowering and non-flowering. D. Flowering plants produce only flower while the non-flowering produce fruit. Think about it. Excellent. The flowering plant produce flower and fruit while the non-flowering produce cones. Select all the life cycle stages shared by flowering and non-flowering. Germination, forming seeds, flowering adult, reproducing young adult, dying. Which of those stages are shared in both flowering and non-flowering? Will the non-flowering form a flowering adult? Excellent. All of them but the flowering adult, as the flowering adult is only specific for the flowering plant. What part of the plant life cycle most depend on flower and cones? Which stage, which part of the life cycle of the plant depend on cones and flowers? What cones and flowers gave? They gave seeds, and seeds help in increasing the number of the plant, which means it's reproduction. Excellent. What part do some non-flowering plants have that flowering plants do not? Non-flowering have, flowering do not. It's the cones. Excellent. And now let's move to session 4, which is gonna be the last session in this lesson, inshallah. And in this session, inshallah, we're gonna talk about cycle breaks. Cycle breaks mean things or occasions that may break the life cycle of the plant or stop it. And beehive, the house of the bee. And you all know that bee is very important in plants pollination, in moving the pollen from one flower to another, from the daddy flower to mommy flowers to seed can form. In this video you can see different things that can affect or stop plants growth or stop the life cycle. Let's see it together. Bismillah. Interrupt its life. Okay, I'm gonna share the video with you right now. Those are the different things or the different occasions that may break the life cycle of the plant, or stop it, or skip one of the stages, or kill the plant. For example, temperature. If the flower or the fruit freezed, will it form seeds? Extremely cold temperature may interrupt the life cycle. This temperature could kill the whole plant or part of it. This might cause leaves, branch, fruit or flower to fall. Too little or also water. Too little water or too much water may kill the plant. It may drop the leaves and flowers. Also bees. As you know, bees are very important as they are common pollinator of the flowering plant. They go from flower to flower looking for food, and pollen stick to the legs and bodies, and they move it to other flowers to make the seed, from baby flower to mommy flower to make the seed. Humans, if we cut plants or take it and eat it, we can stop it from growing or interrupt its life cycle. So many things that may affect the plant life cycle, as you are seeing, as you see right now. In page 200, we can see different things that we saw in the video that may stop stages in the life cycle of the plant or kill the plant so it cannot complete its life cycle. Like this, if there is no bees, who will pollinate the flower and help it to make the so to form the seed. If there is pollution or the air is not clean and the plant take polluted water, unclean water, of course it will die and it will not grow healthy, or it will grow slowly. Too much or too little water will kill the plant. Also, human activities, if we keep cutting trees and cutting plants, it cannot complete its life cycle. Like here, if there is no bees, there will be no reproduction, as there will be no seed. If there is pollution, the plant may die or grow slower or leave dropping flowers before the seed form. Too little or too many water will drop leaves and flowers, and the plant will eventually die. Human activities make the plant die and cannot reproduce. If we keep cutting them, how it will reproduce, how it will form seeds and seed germinate, and the life cycle of the plant go on and go on and on normally. It cannot. If we talked about bees and pollination, let's talk a bit about the beehive. Do you know what's the beehive? The beehive is the house of the bee, where the bee live. The bee breeders keep breeding or growing bees inside this hive to collect its honey. This is the shape of the ordinary hive they use to breed or grow bees. Can you see how it's very old and we can harm bees during collecting honey, and also bees can sting us during honey collection? It's very unsafe for us and for the bees. For us, we will get, can you see the bare hands of the man? Can you see the bees are standing over it? They are stinging him. So it can harm us. This ordinary hive can harm us. We can get so many stings from this hive. And also bees, they will die and will be disturbed when we open and close over them. So this hive is very old and with so many problems. That's why engineers, Stewart, those two engineers, Stewart and Cedar Anderson, try to improve this hive to make it, you all know that engineers are all the time trying to make our life easier. That's why they improve the ordinary hive to something called flow hive to solve our problem and the bees problem. They engineered this flow hive or improved the ordinary hive to this flow hive with tap. You just open the tap and get honey in the jars without disturbing the honey, without disturbing the bees, without killing the bees, and without getting any stings. In page 189, you can find the story. They tried to make collecting honey much more easier for the beekeepers and less stressful for the bees. This flow hive is very simple. It's just honey on tap. Imagine turning a handle on a beehive and squeezing the honey out of the tap without killing the bees, without disturbing the bees, and without getting any stings. It's perfect. Question number 5. What problem does the flow hive solve for beekeepers and for bees? Exactly, for beekeepers, it solves the problem of getting so many stings, and for the bees, it solves the problem of disturbing the bees or killing them. For beekeepers, it solves the problem of getting stung during collecting honey, and for bees, it solves the problem of disturbing bees during honey collection or even killing the bees during the honey collection. So which one is better? This one with drawer or this one with tape? Of course, this one with tape. Honey on the tap. It's so simple. In this video, you can see how the flow hive operates and how the old hive operate as well. In page 201, we have some interesting questions. Let's compete and answer them together. Many things can happen in a plant's environment that cause changes in the way the plant develops. What would happen if all dandelion life cycles didn't contain the adult and flowering stage? Choose all the answers that apply, which means we can choose more than one answer. What will happen if the dandelion flower doesn't have the adult stage or the flowering stage, doesn't have flower? Dandelions will, dandelions will reproduce more quickly, or would grow without stopping, or wouldn't make seeds or produce, or would eventually die out. I think it's gonna be C and D. It will, if there is no flower, it means no seed. And if there is no seed, plant will not reproduce. And if the plant will not reproduce, it will eventually die. Read each question and write your answer below. A farmer planted seeds and then there was no enough rain. What do you think will happen to the seeds? What will happen to the seeds if there is no enough rain? It will not germinate. Will the seed germinate if there is no water? If there isn't enough water? Of course no. What do you think? What do you think happened to the rest of the plant's life cycle? It will not be completed. If the plant does not germinate, will it grow to young one? Will it grow to adult? And will it reproduce? None of them will be happened. Let's check our answers. Then the line would not make seeds or reproduce. Then the line would eventually dry out if there is no flowering stage or adult. A farmer planted the seed and there was no enough rains. What would happen? The seed will dry and will not germinate. What do you think happened to the rest of the plant life cycle? The life cycle was interrupted, and which means stop. When the seed did not germinate, it will not germinate, grow, or reproduce. Let's move to the lesson check, and we did that at class. I hope you enjoy this session quite well and you understand it perfectly. Go and answer your lesson check if you didn't answer it during the session. You will find, if you were absent or if you're homeschooler, if you have any problem, don't hesitate to message us. Thank you so much and see you next lesson inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.